Trying to look at. And so like one it says like 6 reasons to be optimistic about learning. And number three was like not letting learning become an academic island and how after COVID, um, like we should focus on well-being and learning together. Um, and it says that more people know that mental and physical well-being are crucial. So overall, good at learning and good at life will become the new goal. And so I just commented like, yes, and we say that, but it doesn't show up as intentional. Like just kind of thinking about my district and my principal. Like, yes, we want students to be good people, but like we actually talk about like when we're actually like putting things into place or like initiatives or um like practices for that to be the case, it's not showing up as intentional for the character part as it does for academics, right? So like we say, oh, yeah, we want all the kids to have a good attitude, but then like everything that's focused on our school improvement plan is about instructional strategies and IAR scores and stuff like that. So it's like we say that, but then we're not as intentional with implementing practices that help to cultivate that. So that's kind of where I kind of left off. So.
For me, kind of what I also liked, to kind of pick back up a little bit of what I was talking about earlier is I also, for the two that I picked, I thought they both of them, um, the it offered insight to how leaders can create like conditions where deeper learning can take place. Um, I just feel like I'm really big into like that deeper learning for students. And we started a class last year at our school, and it was so interesting because it was an elective class, and students were able to, I think I told you guys about this in one of our classes, but yeah, students were able to
What was the name of the class again, Isaiah? Sorry to cut you off.
pick senior inquiry is what it
Okay.
is the
There's
name
a
of the
little
class.
emphasis on that, right?
And yeah, and
Yeah.
what that class did was students were able to pick an interest area that they had or a career that they wanted to go to. And the deep learning that the teacher said was taking place out of there, or when I went into that classroom, it was extraordinary because those kids had an interest in that and they were digging deep into that. And the conversations that they were having through that and the dialogue they were having through that, that was learning. And it was good. And so I really took that. And so, anyways, these articles talked about that deeper learning. The two of them kind of connected that. And so I don't know, I liked it, resonated.
I will jump in, and the two articles I read were engage secondary students because the future depends on it. That one I picked just because I'm obviously in the secondary wheelhouse, and um, I would consider myself personally invested in like the kids that are in front of me and where it is, well, like where my classroom is going to take them. Obviously, that's just a sliver of it, but I only have them for 45 minutes a day. It's like, what can I do on the daily to make sure that my sliver was enough or impactful? And then the second one was um, 10 priorities to activate deep learning and lift from loss. And I gave it a read mostly because, excuse me, because the learning loss I feel like is a topic of conversation as long as the pandemic or COVID is a part of the conversation. And I haven't really witnessed anything that's innovative about it, right? Is we can point our finger, we can pass blame, we can say that, the product we're turning out is not good enough, but we kind of need to be innovative in how we handle that.
bring it up. Does that make sense? Because it makes me very uncomfortable. Like when we went through our self-evaluation, that was the one area that I was almost similar. Like my principal said, she's like, you can take acknowledgement for things. And I was like, when you do them, and I'm like, I'm not very good at that. Like it puts, I just don't do well with that recognition that of
Hmm.
an appreciation. I will accept appreciation, but now humility, um, but I don't do well with that recognition. Some people are really good at that and they can balance it very well and
Hmm.
not seem that they are not being humble. But I feel like when I accept recognition, I am being like I'm like gloating.
Hmm.
I like to fly under the radar. I don't like to be called out. I have a lot of opinions and I'll share them when I'm comfortable, but I don't like I share my opinions with you guys, but at work I'm very quiet. Surprisingly.
I say surprising, I
I'm
mean.
surprised.
I know. I just kind of go in, do my job, and walk out. And I keep all my opinions in my head. And then on my car ride home, I let them all out.
No, but I guess it's like when it comes to recognizing what you're doing, or maybe just being acknowledged of your strengths once
Mhm.
in a while, because sometimes we just go unnoticed, whether
Yeah.
if we're doing a good thing, like if we're supporting someone else, like just that little praise, we're like, okay.
And I don't know about you, Norma, but I've always felt like, and maybe it's just how I grew up or like my culture, like with my family. It's like you kind of don't, yes, you want the praise, you want the recognition, you want to be acknowledged for doing well, but like I've always just tried to like fly under that radar because
Hmm.
I don't want because and I've always felt that like I'm always being extra like I'm hypersensitive to be like judged. Like I'm not doing enough. So maybe
Yeah, that is like it's always the self-doubt. I'm like, oh, am I doing this? Am I good enough? Is this good enough? Even when you mentioned the with my mentor when we were going over the reflection, I'm like, well, this is a project that I work on, and this is how I reflected on, and this is what
oh
I
yeah.
did, and like being proficient or excellent. Like I couldn't give myself an excellent because there's always room for
No.
growth,
See, and I
right?
was like, I wish this was a number thing because I mean, if it was like this was that, this, that, I'm kind of in between the like developing and the proficient, like going like I was just like, I think you're in a solid proficient. I was like, oh really? So I think I always like undervalue
Hmm.
how
No, I hear you. Yeah, I feel
but
the
I
same
will
way.
suggest, I really wanted a number line, like a once that on that like self-evaluation that you do with it. Because I was like, I wanted an X. I wanted a little X on the like where is it gonna fall on the number line for me? So I struggle with that recognition and the humility because I feel like when I'm getting that recognition, I get very like I feel like I'm boasting.
Hmm.
I mean, but if I do something here in my house, oh, I'm gonna make sure everybody recognizes it in my house. But like outside world, I'm like, no. I like Sadie's face. She's like, yeah, you would.
And that actually goes into the next question, like, what is your typical approach to receiving feedback? So I guess it depends whether if it's, I mean, we always want to receive feedback. I always look for feedback. When
Yeah.
somebody goes into my classroom, I'm like, okay, tell me what is it that I can improve on. But I'm always asking, like, what can I get better at? Instead of like, okay, tell me what is it that I'm doing, what I'm doing good. And then, because I always want to make sure that, okay, what is my next step?
So even if you're not a fan of it or them or anything, like it's still maybe it is something that it's a different perspective and you didn't have that lens. And although you might not agree, you now have a different way to look at some of the things that you're doing and reflect that way.
So for me, because I realized that whoever's giving me the feedback matters, I need to take that into consideration when I'm processing. So it's like, am I being objective in what they're telling me, or am I being overly sensitive because who it's coming from? So I think just knowing that I might respond differently to a particular person, I need to consider when processing going forward.
Is
But
that some is that something like really unique to you in your district right now, or do you feel like that in like if you were to start a new school next week based off first impressions, like would you still feel that way, or is it like
no, I would be less defensive.
okay.
Because like you said, it like the source matters and like are you practicing what you preach? I know you,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I think I'm more receptive to someone I don't know, interesting, than someone I do know, right? Because you could probably think about it as you don't know me, like why would you? But no, I would be more receptive to someone because I feel like a first impression matters.
Mhm.
Uh, so, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of answered that one, like on the last one, and the reasons like why I feel like I answer or listen. Um, I listen a certain way as things are unfolding, um, just to be sure that I'm reacting less. I think when I do find myself feeling in a level of like, is this negative feedback that I'm about ready to give this person warranted? Um, I think in some of the leaders that I've talked to, they're like, well, one of the things that I like to ask is if I were to ask other professionals that you work with, um, how they feel about you, or someone who says that they don't like you, what would they say as like a question? And I think I would say, or I would rebuttal with, I think those individuals who feel as if they don't connect with me, um, I try to connect with them on the level of where they are until there's a perpetual level of showing that what you're doing isn't good for kids. Like you continue to show me that what you're doing isn't improving their achievement or isn't improving their outcome. And because of that continued ability to show what should be the core of what we're doing here, yeah, you probably don't like me because I'm going to continue to push for what is correct. So I think when I think of some of those formations of how people view that, that's when I would say my feedback can change or alter, is when I see that like you have continually showed me that what should be the center of what we're doing is not. And here are the examples why. So that's how I feel.
Nice.
All right. Let's see. You guys want to go to coherence or do you want to do one of the articles?
Can we do one of the articles just because it was like speaking to me?
Oh, lean in, Marielle.
Ooh.
And not a good way, and not a good way.
Oh no.
Tea
I should have
time.
let you. I gave you too feedback too soon.
Wait, like I didn't write down the article, but it was, well, one of the quotes was, when it comes to our beliefs and opinions, most of us believe, or most of us are much more confident than we should be. And it just reminded me of one of my friends recently said to me, I wish I was as confident as you when I was wrong. Because because I firmly believe things, right? And I like stand by my convictions, and a lot of the times I'm wrong. So I just need to, I can be overconfident a lot. So it's something I need to work on. Um
before actually jumping into administration, like maybe being an instructional coach so I can see everything and then eventually
Well,
doing
that's
something.
when you use those skill sets in
Right.
what you just talking about. You're going to use those skill sets in a position like that. You know, especially like what you just did. You were coach. You had what is the coaching leadership? The you did a good job.
Right. And then, but then someone else has to take the lead. And then I was just telling my other teacher, she's my co-teacher, and I'm like, just let them do it. It's okay. They will figure it out. You know, if we don't get a lot of things done, it's fine. Because sometimes we have to struggle to get to where we want to be. But so, do we go into the next one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the deep learning. What caught your attention and prompted you to read these two papers?
Oh, I have to look at them again.
I'm feeling all right.
Oh, more about like coming back from COVID, like 10 priorities to activate deep learning and lift from loss.
From loss, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I just think it's interesting. Like, I know this came out like right as people were returning, and then like with the lens of now. I mean, I think I don't know, it's just important to use a lot of these, or like we were so concerned about levels, and I mean, we're still kind of struggling with reading levels, but I do like there was one that said like it's okay, like meet them where they're at. We'll get back on track, but like don't like force kids to do things they're not ready to do, or force them to learn concepts that they're not ready.
And I think that's a huge component because like things like I think a lot of our students are not ready to learn because of that social emotional piece.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've proven that in like things working with some of my kids, like I have a kindergarten, well, now he's in kindergarten, he's in second grade now, but when he was in kindergarten, he was not ready to learn. Emotionally, he was not there. He couldn't regulate his emotions, he couldn't regulate his body. He was making bad choices. He was making very unexpected choices. Um, so until he was ready to learn, until he was ready to be present in school, we're we had to navigate that. And it took us over a year to get there. And
Mm-hmm.
then we saw the growth last year and it's continued this year. I mean, he's reading now. He went from a kid who wasn't reading to reading, and he's doing so well. Like he's gonna close that gap. It's gonna get there. It's just he needed to be emotionally ready to be there. And like that run is that like as a leader that like you have to recognize you have to meet your kids where they are. You have to meet your staff where they are. You have to meet the people that you will be leading where they are, and you can't expect them to come to you. You have to come to where they are. I don't
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the things that I struggle with. Like I'm a second grade teacher and I know like what
You're
standards
doing the genetic curriculum. You see, my job is
is different.
all
Hmm.
adaptation. I go in and I look and I can see like what the teacher's doing, and I'm like, okay, okay, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And I can like analyze what they're doing, figure out how to say, well, let's try this strategy to do this, and then it works for that kid. You know what I mean? Not saying that I'm like a whiz at it. I'm not. I'm not saying that, but I figure out the strengths of my students and I try to adapt whatever it is that's the curriculum. So I have a kindergartner right now. She can't access any of the curriculum. Everything needs to be hand in hand. She barely speaks. She has an AAC device. So a lot of her things are the file folders with Velcro and she's pulling them down, but she's doing the curriculum. Do I spend 2 hours a week probably printing and cutting and laminating all those things? Well, I don't cut them. I definitely print them. But I was like, oh, I put them there. But yes, do I create those? Yes, but it's still the curriculum and you have to adapt those things. So I take what it is and meet it where they are.
Um, so I guess we're on
Three.
three.
Mhm.
what is your typical approach to receiving feedback?
I typically welcome feedback with open arms. I like feedback. I appreciate it all the time. I like it all the time.
Just like you like praise.
Just like I like praise.
Yeah. I would say for me, my typical approach to feedback, um, usually I'll listen, right? Before I even try to respond, right? I try to hear what a person is saying. And then if I don't quite understand or I don't quite know if we're seeing eye to eye, I'll ask for clarification, and things like that. And people who really know me well, no, I will use a line of help me understand, because if I say help me understand, that's my polite way of saying, what the blank. I
That's
don't really understand.
non-responding.
Right.
Yeah.
But professionally, I say, help me understand. I learned that from Dr. Eccles, by the way. Help me understand. That is that's where I learned that from him. And I've stole that, and it really does help me get those clarifying um so I'll tell you a quick story. He'd kill me for telling you guys this. But so sometimes teachers would, get upset or challenge or you know. And sometimes they would get vocal in, whatever. And I'll never forget there was him and I were in a conversation. Teacher just butted up and got rude and said all this, and you could tell he was really mad. And he looked at that teacher and said, help me understand what you mean by that. And then afterwards I said, you handled that really well. Explain to me. He goes, well, on the outside, that was my way of saying, what the F do you mean? But I can't say that. So, anyways, after he told me that, I'm like, you like that. And so I kind of use that when I'm asking, clarifying questions or things like that. But, if a person giving feedback. And then the other thing that I would say, um, my typical approach, that's something that I had to work on, is kind of separating like my emotions and feelings, because sometimes it's easy to get upset if you feel like somebody's giving you feedback that maybe you're not doing something as well as you thought you were. But it's good to hear that, because no one's perfect, we all are growing, and so anyways, that's my 2 cents.
And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, perfect timing, Dr. Smelton. Do we get our diplomas in May?
That's a good
I
question.
thought I heard Dr. King say that last week.
Yeah, graduation, the commencement ceremony, diplomas are in May, but your transcripts will be marked in December as program completers. Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Did you finish up?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Mary Ellie, you had sent me an email asking about the doc program that we're working on.
I've heard through the grapevine.
The grapevine, yeah. Well, it takes a while to get through the academia. So we're hoping that we'll get through all of the hoops that we have to get through to start with fall of 27. We've got another major hoop to do at North Central, and then we've got to go through the higher learning commission. So our goal, at this point is that we would like to be able to start. And what we're building is it's an interdisciplinary doctorate in ethical leadership. So that would mean that people from business, people from education, people from medicine, engineering would all be together in classes, because everything in terms of leadership, and then the assignments and the activities would be differentiated by discipline. So that's our hope. And then our plan is it'll be an EDD. And then there's also an option of you could just come in and do an EDS, which would lead to the superintendent certificate. And then you could actually take the core courses for both are all the same. So you could come in to do the EDS for the superintendent certificate and move right into the doc program. I think there's only a difference of 3 classes that are needed specifically for the superintendent license and endorsement. So that's our goal. It's Kathleen and I are working on it together. We're the authors, and she's the lead thinker, and I'm the workhorse. So,
And once that gets approved, I guess, when would we expect to have final details? Obviously, you wouldn't be sending out any communication, but when should I be looking?
Yeah, it all depends on how the speed that they move through. We have another, we just got through the second of a, going before a committee and getting grilled. So we have to do that again in January. And if when we get through that in January, then we start working on the materials for HLC and Illinois State Board of Education. So, we can't advertise or commit to anything until we have Higher Learning Commission approval. So we're hoping we would have that by the end of 26 so that we could begin recruiting and get ready for fall of 27. And
would it be,
believe me, we will be reaching out to you.
yeah.
You won't have to search for information. I'll be texting like crazy.
Would it be online also?
It'll be very similar to what we're doing in this. It'll be online, asynchronous and synchronous. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you'll hear all about it, I promise you.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll be bugging you for the in between for other things as well. So yeah, you'll regret the day you gave me your phone number. But yeah. Okay. I will see you in the main room in a minute.
Alrighty.
Okay, welcome back. So anything interesting, exciting, any aha moments, any big questions that popped up in your conversations? You had good conversations.
Our group talked a lot about the feedback loop and how it's environmental. It can also be like the credibility of the person that's talking to you. Um, it could also be like the population that they're trying to discuss and how that can kind of change or color your response differently. And those things are all factors that we need to be aware of, but are also sometimes those difficult conversations that we've kind of learned about over the last couple of weeks, that sometimes those have to be had, um, even if it's in the form of their feedback and what you're having to say. So
Anything else exciting from your groups? I heard some of you struggling with humility, which I think is typical. It's hard for all of us. But I think that one of the things that, and I think we mentioned it in the presentation, but being humble doesn't mean that that you don't acknowledge your strengths and your challenges. It's actually a part of it is knowing those, because a good humble servant knows exactly where their strengths are and their weaknesses are, but they use them for obviously for the right purposes.
Brandy really. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Sharma. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, dear.
I thought Brandy really brought up just what I gave a yes moment. Yeah. She said that when I think it was the question about the what if anything are you learning about your ability to humbly receive feedback? And she goes, it's very hard if you're getting that feedback from someone who's a leader that you don't maybe respect or have the best and that's the truth, right? Like if you struggle with, like, man, I don't really quite get along or see eye to eye with how you operate, but now you're the one giving me feedback. That is it's a tough one.
That's a humbling experience for sure. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where you have to know yourself. That's where that whole self-awareness and understanding your moral compass and understanding your North Star is, because that's what gets you through those kinds of situations. Um, yeah. And, sometimes you just have to, sometimes the decision is to move, right? So, yeah, it just depends. It all depends. Okay, so last thing for the evening is going to be the ethical dilemma. So I'm going to put you back in your breakout groups, take a 10-minute break, read your ethical dilemma, and I will see you in those conversations.